The Arctic wind howled across the research station's reinforced walls as Dr. Sarah Chen stared at the readings on her monitor for the third time. The signal shouldn't exist, couldn't exist, yet there it was, pulsing steadily from 2 kilometers beneath the ice sheet. "Dr. Chen, you need to see this." Marcus, her research assistant, called from the adjacent lab. His voice carried an urgency she hadn't heard in their 3 years working together. "The signal. It's changing." Sarah rushed to his station, her boots echoing against the metal floor. The waveform on his screen had shifted from its previous steady rhythm to something more complex, almost like a heartbeat. But it was the temperature readings that made her blood run cold. The ice was melting. Not from above, but from below. "Get me a direct line to command," she ordered, her fingers already flying across the keyboard. "Whatever's down there, it's waking up." Within hours, the situation escalated beyond anything their small research team could handle. Military satellites confirmed thermal anomalies across a 3-kilometer radius, and the ice sheet had begun to crack in perfect geometric patterns, as if something massive was pushing its way to the surface. The first Kraxan ships appeared in orbit exactly 12 hours later. They came without warning, their massive vessels darkening the skies over every major city on Earth. Their message was simple: surrender or be destroyed. Humanity had 24 hours to decide. Sarah watched the emergency broadcast from the station's common room, her colleagues huddled around the screen in stunned silence. But her mind was on the signal below the ice. The timing couldn't be coincidence. "Dr. Chen," Marcus burst into the room. "The signal. It's gone exponential." The entire station shuddered. Warning alarms blared as sensors registered massive seismic activity. Sarah grabbed the doorframe to steady herself as the floor buckled beneath her feet. "Everyone to the surface," she shouted. "Now." They emerged into the howling Arctic night just in time to witness history rewrite itself. The ice sheet split open like a blooming flower, releasing a column of blue-white light that pierced the clouds. And from that light, they rose. The black ships. 7 of them, each larger than any vessel humanity had ever constructed. Their hulls seemed to absorb the light around them, creating patches of darkness against the aurora-lit sky. They moved with impossible grace, ascending in perfect formation. Sarah's comm unit crackled to life with an incoming priority transmission from Global Defense Command. "Dr. Chen," General Rivera's voice was tense. "Please tell me you have some insight into what we're looking at." "The ships," she replied, her voice barely a whisper as she watched them rise. "They're not alien. The markings, they're human. But that's impossible. The technology required, we're talking thousands of years." Her voice trailed off as one of the black ships oriented itself toward the research station. A beam of light washed over them, and Sarah felt something brush against her consciousness, a presence, ancient and powerful, reaching out across millennia. "We have slept long enough," a voice echoed in her mind. "The enemy approaches. We require pilots." The beam focused on Sarah, and she understood with sudden clarity why her team had been chosen to find the signal. Why she had been chosen. "General," she said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "I know what we need to do." Above them, the first waves of Kraxan fighters entered the atmosphere, their weapons charging. The black ships moved to intercept, their ancient hulls coming alive with patterns of light that seemed to bend reality itself. The war for Earth was about to begin. But this time, humanity wasn't alone. This time, they had the legacy of their own forgotten past to protect them. Sarah felt the neural interface of the black ship reaching for her mind again. This time, she didn't resist. "Time to wake up," she whispered, both to herself and to the ancient vessel calling to her. "We have a world to save." The first shots of the battle lit up the Arctic sky like artificial auroras. The black ships moved with fluid precision, their weapons unleashing technologies that shouldn't exist. Quantum manifolds collapsed Kraxan shields. Temporal distortion fields turned enemy fire back on itself. And in the heart of the largest ship, Sarah Chen began to remember things she had never learned. Knowledge from an age when humanity had touched the stars, before the Great Sleep, before the forgetting. The Kraxen weren't just invaders. They were old enemies, returned to finish what they had started 2,000 years ago. But this time, humanity's guardians had awakened. This time, they were ready. The battle for Earth's past, and its future, had begun. Sarah's consciousness merged with the black ship's systems, like water flowing into familiar channels. Ancient knowledge cascaded through her mind. Star maps, weapon systems, and memories that weren't her own. The neural interface pulsed with each new revelation, showing her glimpses of a civilization that had once spanned galaxies. Neural synchronization at 80%. Marcus reported from his station in the ship's secondary control chamber. He had adapted to the ancient technology with surprising speed, as if some part of him had been waiting for this moment. The other pilots are reporting similar readings. Through the ship's sensors, Sarah could feel the battle raging around them. The Kraxen fleet had deployed their full invasion force, thousands of ships darkening Earth's skies. But the black ships moved through their formations like shadows through light, their quantum weaponry tearing holes in space itself. They're targeting something specific, Sarah realized, the ship's tactical systems highlighting patterns in the enemy's movements. This isn't just an invasion, they're searching. A memory surfaced, not hers, but from the ship's vast database, a quantum core hidden beneath Earth's surface, the key to humanity's forgotten past. Marcus, I need you to access the historical archives. Look for anything about a device called the Nexus Core. As Marcus worked, Sarah guided their ship through another engagement. The vessel responded to her thoughts with perfect precision, its weapons systematically dismantling a Kraxen battle group. The enemy ships were advanced, but they were fighting with borrowed technology. The black ships had been built by human hands, designed with an understanding of physics that modern science was only beginning to grasp. Got it, Marcus called out. The Nexus Core, it's some kind of quantum computer network. According to these records, it contained the sum total of human knowledge before the Great Sleep. But there's more. His voice trailed off as new alarms blared. The Kraxen had changed tactics, their ships converging on a point in the Pacific Ocean. They had found something. They knew, Sarah whispered, the ship's memories filling in the blanks. They knew where we hid it. The black ship's AI spoke directly into her mind. The core was not just a repository of knowledge. It was a weapon. The reason for our exile. The reason for our sleep. Images flashed through Sarah's consciousness. A war that spanned galaxies, humanity pushing the boundaries of science until they created something that could reshape reality itself. The Kraxen had feared what humans might become. They had driven them back to Earth, forced them into hibernation, buried their achievements under ice and ocean. But they hadn't destroyed them. They couldn't. The technology was too valuable. All ships, form up on my position, Sarah commanded, her voice carrying across the neural network, linking all 7 vessels. We know what they want. We can't let them have it. The black ships moved in perfect synchronization, their hulls resonating with building energy. The Kraxen fleet turned to meet them, their weapons charging. But Sarah could sense their fear. They remembered what these ships could do. Marcus, I need you to send these coordinates to all Earth defense forces. Tell them to fall back and prepare for quantum shielding. What are you planning? Sarah's hands moved across the control interface, activating systems that had lain dormant for 2 millennia. Something they won't expect. Something they forgot we could do. The ship's AI pulsed in agreement. The convergence protocol. It was always our greatest strength. Energy began to flow between the black ships, creating a lattice of quantum connections. The Kraxen ships fired, their weapons seemingly passing through the ancient vessels as reality itself bent around them. They forgot who we were, Sarah said, feeling the power build. They forgot what humanity achieved before they forced us to sleep. Time to remind them. The black ships moved as one, their combined energy reaching out to touch the quantum frequencies that underpin space itself. In that moment, Sarah understood why the Kraxen had feared them so much, why they had tried to erase humanity's greatest achievements from history. Because humans had learned to do the impossible. They had learned to make reality itself yield to their will. The sky above Earth lit up with quantum fire as the black ships unleashed their full power. The Kraxen fleet's shields shattered like glass, their ships thrown into chaos by forces they couldn't comprehend. But this was just the beginning. The real battle would be for the Nexus core, and the future it could unlock. Sarah could feel it calling to them from its resting place beneath the Pacific, a beacon of human achievement waiting to be reclaimed. Ready for Phase 2? She asked Marcus. He nodded, his eyes bright with the same determination she felt. Ready to make history. The black ships descended toward the ocean, their ancient systems humming with power. Above them, the Kraxen fleet regrouped, preparing for another assault. But they were too late. Humanity had remembered who they were, and they were done sleeping. The Pacific Ocean boiled as the black ships descended, their quantum fields parting the waters like ancient myths come to life. Sarah felt the Nexus core's presence growing stronger with each passing moment, its signal resonating with the ship's systems in ways that made her mind hum with possibility. Multiple Kraxen signatures incoming, Marcus reported, his fingers dancing across the holographic displays. They're deploying something new. Energy readings are off the charts. Through the neural interface, Sarah watched as massive shapes emerged from the Kraxen fleet. Not ships, but something else. Mechanical beings that moved with fluid grace, their bodies composed of shifting metal and energy fields. Quantum hunters, the ship's AI provided. They were created to track us, to find what we had hidden. The mechanical beings dove into the ocean, their forms adapting to underwater movement. Sarah could feel their searching presence, like predators stalking ancient prey. They knew the core was here, buried in the depths where humanity had hidden their greatest achievements. All ships, defensive formation Delta, Sarah commanded. They want to reach the core first. We can't let that happen. The black ships moved in perfect synchronization, their quantum weapons creating a web of energy that illuminated the ocean depths. The hunters responded, their bodies transforming to generate counterfields that rippled through space-time itself. Sarah, Marcus called out, his voice tense. I've decoded more of the historical archives. The core, it's not just a computer, it's a gateway. Images flooded Sarah's mind through the neural link. Humanity's first experiments with quantum computing, the discovery of paths between realities, and the terrible price of pushing too far. The Kraxen hadn't just feared human technology. They had feared what humans had found on the other side. They're not here to destroy it, Sarah realized, watching the hunters' methodical search patterns. They're here to use it. The ship's AI pulsed with confirmation. The core was meant to be a bridge between worlds. But some doors should remain closed. A hunter burst from the water near their position, its body reconfiguring into a weapon platform. Energy beams lanced out, testing the black ship's defenses. Sarah responded instinctively, the ship's quantum shields bending the attack back upon itself. We need to reach the core first, she decided. Marcus, begin power transfer to the main drive. We're going to show them why these ships were built for more than just war. The black ship's systems surged as Sarah activated protocols that had lain dormant for millennia. The hull began to shift, quantum fields extending to create a bubble of altered space around them. Water turned to vapor, then to something else entirely, a state of matter that shouldn't exist. My God, Marcus whispered, watching the readings. We're not just moving through the water. We're moving through reality itself. Sarah finished. This was humanity's true legacy, not just advanced technology, but understanding of the universe's deepest secrets. The ability to rewrite the rules that governed existence. The ship plunged deeper, the other vessels following in its wake. The hunters pursued, but they were fighting against laws of physics that humans had learned to transcend. Sarah could feel the core growing closer, its quantum signature a beacon in the darkness. Then they saw it, a structure larger than any human city, built into the ocean floor itself. Its surface was covered in patterns that hurt the eyes to look at, geometries that suggested other dimensions. This was what humanity had achieved before their fall, a machine that could touch the infinite. Multiple contacts. Marcus shouted. The Kraxan fleet is moving into position. They're charging something big. Sarah watched through the ship's sensors as energy began to build above them. The Kraxan weren't just planning to take the core. They were preparing to tear open the ocean itself to reach it. They don't understand what they're doing, she realized. The core wasn't just hidden to protect it from them. It was hidden to protect reality itself. Through the neural interface, memories of the ancient war became clear. Humanity hadn't been defeated. They had chosen to sleep, to hide their greatest achievements, because the alternative was the unraveling of space-time itself. All ships, prepare for emergency protocols, Sarah commanded. We're not here to fight them. We're here to stop what's coming through. The black ships moved into position around the core facility, their quantum fields linking to form a barrier between worlds. Above them, the Kraxan weapon prepared to fire. But Sarah could feel something else building. A presence from beyond normal space, waiting for its chance to return. The real war wasn't between humans and Kraxan. It was between reality as they knew it and what lay beyond the core's gateway, and only the black ships stood in its way. Ready for what comes next? She asked Marcus. He nodded, his expression grim but determined. Ready to save the universe. The ocean began to glow with quantum fire as the final battle for existence itself began. Reality rippled around the black ships as the Kraxan weapon fired, its energy tearing through the ocean like a sun igniting underwater. Sarah felt the impact through the neural interface, her mind connecting with the ship systems to maintain their quantum barrier against forces that threatened to shred spacetime itself. Core containment at 60% and falling, Marcus called out, his voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around them. The gateway is becoming unstable. Through the ship's sensors, Sarah watched as fractures began to appear in the fabric of reality around the ancient facility. The core's quantum signature was changing, its carefully maintained frequencies shifting toward patterns that shouldn't exist in normal space. They don't realize what they're doing, Sarah said, directing the ship's energy to reinforce their defensive line. The core isn't just a doorway, it's a seal. Our ancestors built it to keep something out. The ship's AI pulsed with urgent confirmation. The void entities, they hunger for ordered reality. We fought them before. We chose to sleep rather than let them through. Memories flooded Sarah's mind. Glimpses of a war fought not just across space, but across dimensions. Humanity had reached too far, touched realms that should have remained untouched. The Kraxan's fear had been justified, but their solution had only delayed the inevitable. Multiple breaches forming. Marcus shouted as new alarms blared. Something's coming through. The water around them began to darken, not with absence of light, but with the presence of something that absorbed more than just illumination. Shapes moved in that darkness. Geometries that shouldn't exist, patterns that made human minds recoil in instinctive horror. All ships, full power to quantum fields, Sarah commanded, her voice carrying across their neural network. We have to contain the breaches. The black ships responded, their ancient systems pushing to limits that hadn't been tested in millennia. Energy flowed between them, creating barriers of altered space that fought to hold back the encroaching void. But the Kraxan weren't stopping. Their weapon fired again, its power enhanced by technology they had stolen but never truly understood. They thought they were breaking into a vault of human secrets. Instead, they were tearing open wounds in reality itself. Sarah, Marcus called out, his voice tight with urgency. I found something in the archives, a protocol. The Omega Convergence. Through their neural link, Sarah saw it. The final option, a last resort capability built into the black ship's design. A way to rewrite local spacetime itself. The cost, she whispered, understanding flowing through her mind. It would burn out the ship's cores, a one-time solution. It was always meant as a last resort, the AI confirmed, a way to reset the board when all other options failed. A void entity emerged fully into their reality, its presence sending waves of wrongness through the quantum fields. The black ship's weapons fired, their energy disrupting the creature's impossible geometry, but more were coming through. "We're losing containment," Marcus reported. "The core's quantum signature is cascading. If it collapses completely," he didn't need to finish. They all knew what would happen. The barriers between dimensions would shatter, and Earth would become ground zero for an invasion of void entities that would consume all of reality. Sarah made her decision. All ships begin Omega convergence protocols. Transfer all power to primary quantum cores. "Sarah, wait," Marcus called out. "The neural feedback, it could kill the pilots." "We don't have a choice," she replied, feeling the ship's systems begin to transform around her. "This is what these ships were built for. This is why we slept for 2,000 years." Energy began to build between the black ships, not just normal power but quantum potential that could rewrite the laws of physics within their influence. The void entities sensed the change, their impossible forms writhing as they tried to breach the barrier before it was too late. The Kraxan fleet, finally realizing their mistake, attempted to retreat. But they were caught in the quantum wake, their ships held in place by forces they couldn't comprehend. "All pilots," Sarah broadcast, her consciousness stretching across the neural network to touch each mind connected to the black ships. "It has been an honor. For Earth, for humanity, for reality itself." The quantum cores reached critical mass. Sarah felt the energy burning through her mind, rewriting her neurons even as it rewrote space-time. This was humanity's legacy, not just the power to touch the infinite, but the wisdom to know when to pull back. And in that moment, as reality itself began to bend around them, Sarah understood why the black ships had chosen to awaken now. Not just to fight, but to finish what they had started 2,000 years ago. The void entities screamed in frequencies that shouldn't exist as the Omega convergence began. The final battle for existence itself had reached its breaking point. The ocean glowed with impossible light as the Omega convergence reached its peak. Sarah felt reality bending around them, the quantum cores of the black ships pushing the boundaries of physics beyond their breaking point. Through the neural interface, she could sense the other pilots, their minds linked in a final desperate gambit to save not just Earth, but existence itself. "Quantum field saturation at maximum," Marcus reported, his voice strained as the ship's systems poured energy into the convergence. "The void entities are being affected, but the core's instability is still increasing." Sarah watched through the ship's sensors as space itself began to fold around them. The void entities twisted in patterns that hurt to look at, their impossible geometries fighting against the rewritten laws of physics. But it wasn't enough. The damage to reality had spread too far. "There is another way," the ship's AI spoke directly into her mind. "The core was never meant to be a weapon. It was meant to be a bridge." Understanding flooded through Sarah's consciousness. Not just knowledge, but wisdom accumulated over millennia. The black ships hadn't been built for destruction. They had been created to maintain balance between realities. "All ships," Sarah commanded, her voice carrying across the neural network. "Redirect quantum flow. We're not trying to destroy the void. We're going to give it somewhere to exist." The black ships responded, their ancient systems reconfiguring to create something new. The ocean around them began to crystallize, not with ice, but with structured reality itself. The void entities sensed the change, their chaotic forms beginning to stabilize into patterns that could exist in normal space. "Sarah," Marcus called out, understanding dawning in his voice. "The archives. They're showing something. The original purpose of the core network. It wasn't about keeping them out. It was about giving them a home." Sarah finished. "Our ancestors didn't fail. They succeeded too well. They found other forms of life, other ways of existing. But they needed time to build a bridge between realities. Time to create a space where both could exist. The Kraxan fleet hung motionless in the quantum wake, watching as humanity's true legacy unfolded. Their weapon, designed to break through to another reality, had instead helped complete a project 2,000 years in the making. The sleep was necessary, the AI explained. The bridge needed time to form. The void needed time to understand. We were never meant to fight them. We were meant to help them evolve. Energy cascaded between the black ships as they created a new kind of space, a realm where the physics of void and normal reality could coexist. The entities began to flow into this new domain, their impossible forms taking on aspects that human minds could comprehend. Core stabilizing, Marcus reported with amazement. The quantum signatures, they're harmonizing. Sarah felt it through the neural interface, a sense of completion, of pieces falling into place that had been separated for millennia. The void entities weren't invaders. They were the other half of a greater whole, waiting for humanity to finish building the bridge between worlds. The Kraxan ships began to retreat, their mission revealed as a fundamental misunderstanding of humanity's greatest achievement. They had feared human technology, never realizing that humanity's true power lay in their ability to find solutions beyond conflict. All ships, begin final sequence, Sarah commanded, feeling the quantum cores pulse with newfound purpose. Let's finish what our ancestors started. The black ships moved in perfect synchronization, their energy weaving together the fabric of two realities. The core facility began to transform, its ancient structure becoming the foundation of something greater, a permanent bridge between worlds. The void entities, now partially translated into forms that could interact with normal space, reached out not to destroy, but to connect. Through the neural interface, Sarah felt their gratitude, their relief at finally finding a way to exist without threatening the reality they had sought to enter. "It's beautiful," Marcus whispered, watching as the new realm took shape. "All this time, we thought we were preparing for war. We were preparing for peace," Sarah finished. "The hardest kind of peace, the kind you have to build one piece at a time, across thousands of years." The quantum cores of the black ships began to power down, their purpose finally fulfilled. They had not been weapons of war, but tools of creation, waiting for the right moment to complete their mission. "Our work is done," the AI announced, its presence beginning to fade. "The bridge is built. The void has its home. Humanity remembers its true purpose." As the black ships settled onto the ocean surface, their ancient hulls still gleaming with residual quantum energy, Sarah felt a profound sense of completion. Earth had not just been saved. It had been transformed into something greater. A nexus point between realities, a place where different forms of existence could meet and grow together. "What now?" Marcus asked, looking out at the new horizon where normal space merged seamlessly with the structured void. Sarah smiled, feeling the legacy of 2,000 years settling into its final form. "Now we learn. We grow. We become what we were always meant to be, not conquerors or defenders, but builders, bridge makers between worlds." The sun rose over a changed Earth, its light playing across the quantum crystalline structures that now dotted the Pacific. The black ships had completed their mission, not through war, but through the greatest human qualities of all, the ability to understand, to adapt, and to find ways to turn ancient enemies into new allies. Humanity had awakened not to fight, but to build, and in doing so, they had become something greater than their ancestors had ever dreamed possible.